Now, I'm very happy to welcome back the co-host of the Deep Dive podcast, as well as the director of content at BetSperts, and Mr. Andy the Machine Molitor from BetSperts.com. You can follow Andy at AndyMSFW. Andy, it's been a minute, my man. How are the pristine waters of Lake Minnetonka treating you?
Oh, it is. It's cold up here. A lot colder than what you're dealing with. Getting
They're
some snow.
frozen waters. Frozen
Yeah,
pristine
frozen
waters.
water. Yeah, it's ice fishing season up here. You know what? I'm blessed. I don't know if it's a global warming thing. We just have had like no snow. There's places along the coast of Florida that have had more accumulation than I have had.
New
We've had
Orleans
one.
has.
Yeah, I know. We've had one snow event. It melted a couple days later. I'm getting some this week. I think we're gonna finally get some, but it's so nice not to have to clean up snow. I can, you have the cold, you have the snow. If you don't have both, it's a little more, a little nicer up here. But yeah, Super Bowl week, waste management week.
Yeah.
Just working my way towards spring, man.
Yeah, waste management's crazy. It's starting up here. I have a friend down there. Not going to make it. I'm too busy with kids, as you are very busy. But I haven't been there in probably 4 or 5 years. But it's a massive shit show, and
Yeah.
definitely fun. You can almost you might have a little too much fun sometimes. You got to be careful. There's a lot of fun going on when it comes to the Phoenix Open. Last year there was a lot of mud and toplessness, from what I heard, and I know one of my friends got in a little trouble for coming home late. So that's how it is. But it's funny about the snow. You and I were raised in the Midwest when we were younger. I went in the '80s. It snowed so freaking much that I just thought that was normal. Like, December, January, February, all snowmobiles constantly packed with snow, ice fishing. It's really kind of changed up there, and it kind of hit when the '90s hit.
Yeah, it's been a couple weird winters, but I'll take them. And yeah, God, no, you're just making me miss. I was able to get down to waste management a couple years ago, and yeah, that's. I talked to Drew last night. I'm like, because we looked at the Super Bowl next year, and it's like, there's a couple in a row here, which are in, you know, it's San Francisco and L.A., and neither of those stadiums are like close to anything. So like
No,
the general vibe isn't the same as like some of these towns that have a real good setup. He's down in New Orleans. He's loving that right now. But I said, well,
yeah,
let's just go to Scottsdale again. Like why let's just watch the Super Bowl down there, go to the golf
yeah,
for a couple days. The perfect is to go to the golf for most of the day and then get out of there before it gets too late in the afternoon when people really start to get wild. Then
yeah.
just head down to the bars and get after it down there. But no,
That's
it's
how you
always
do
fun.
it.
It's such a good lead into the Super Bowl. I said that to somebody. Maybe I haven't said it on air with Drew yesterday. Like, if you have a sweat going into Sunday on an outright for waste management, it's just elite because you get to sweat that all day long, and it helps kill the time waiting for the big game.
It certainly does, and sometimes waiting kind of sucks. You know, uh, the waste management is so much fun, and I like what you said. It's sometimes if you leave at the wrong time, it's 2 hour Uber lines. You're just
Yeah.
sitting there. They actually have Uber lines that you're not allowed to get ahead of, because it's kind of like predetermined. It's not. They do it a little differently than just calling on an app, right? So they actually have designated areas for those type of cabs, and I think getting out of there at a really good time, like 1, 2 o'clock, right when the buzz starts happening really hard for everybody, and then you can get your spot wherever you're going to watch the Super Bowl. I always found it weird that they did it Super Bowl week too, because I was kind of like, man, when I was younger, I was like, I'm going to feel like shit during the Super Bowl, But it's grown on me now a little bit more, where it's like, well, I just won't go there Saturday. I just won't go. That's the old person in me, I guess.
Yeah. No, I don't know if I can hang like some of those. We saw a guy pass out on a hillside, and his buddy was like, "I'm setting a timer for an hour. I'm gonna come wake you up." Like, man, it's like noon, you guys. How are you this drunk already? But
Oh, it hits you quick, man. It's like you don't notice it, and you're like, man, I'm still sober. And then all of a sudden, like an
yeah, I'm
hour
not.
later, you're like delirious. Yeah, you got to be careful. But hey, we're talking Super Bowl now. But what's funny? Before we talk Super Bowl, I know you're in like Minnesota. You're in the Minnesota area, is what I'm trying to say. The Minneapolis area, the Vikings. I hear this talk from the Vikings about Sam Darnold and keeping him and stuff. What would your strategy be in this situation with McCarthy going to be healthy next year?
I think just looking at how they've done things under Quessy, the new GM over the past couple of years, they've been able to make, pretty, I think, smart decisions as far as this is where this player is at and this is what they're going to cost. And I think they just done some straight up cost analysis and said, we can't offer Kirk Cousins the kind of money that he's going to get. He's gone. Hey, Dalvin Cook would be cool, but this is where he's at in his running back career, and he's probably going somewhere else now. And I think they've been pretty shrewd about that. I believe they'll probably continue to go that way, just because. I mean, just think about how many teams need a quarterback, and think about the free agents that are available, and the draft class that's coming up. That's pretty weak, all things considered. So he's going to be in demand, and his job, his agent's job, and players. People don't talk about this a lot, but players have a little bit of a responsibility to the union, even to go get the most money. Those hometown discounts are not looked on favorably by the rest of the league, because it hurts the overall, kind of the bars that are set for some of these contracts. So he has to go get the most money he can get, and Sam Darnold. And man, I just don't know the Vikings are going to go, sign him for a big chunk after what we saw at the end of the year. And it was fine and all. And, KOC got a lot out of him, but those games that mattered at the end, he looked pretty shaky. And I think it kind of went to prove, like, KOC did a really good job with a guy who, we saw it a couple times during the year, but man, the last two games, the Lions game, the Rams game, the games that mattered big, I mean, he was very, very off. So obviously they liked McCarthy enough to draft him. I think you do have to bring in some sort of vet. I like the idea of bringing in a cheaper vet to back him up, just somebody to help him on his way. I think that's usually a good plan, but I just don't know who you're going to get. Like, it almost makes somebody who wasn't in the league, like Tannehill. I don't know if he even wants to play anymore. Russell Wilson's a free agent, but I think somebody is going to talk themselves into that.
Yeah, I mean, Jameis Winston's out there too. But it's funny how the Vikings, and I think they're doing this right, are kind of talking like, oh, we really like what he did, blah, blah, blah. I think they know in the back of their mind that there's no way that they're going to keep him above JJ. And I think they're just trying to keep the market available for him a little bit, Why would you say, no, he sucks, we're going to move on, no one's going to want him? I mean, they're kind of acting like they don't know. They're going to keep JJ McCarthy, and that's the guy they're going with. I'm almost 100% convinced by that. Like, it's so funny that the media brings up a notion that McCarthy can be traded and keep Darnold. What good is what Darnold did through the regular season if you can't do it in the most important games? And that's always my problem with a little bit with Lamar. Not that Lamar's bad. I would keep Lamar in that heartbeat. Are you kidding me? But like, it's almost like the same philosophy. It's like, at some point, dude, you got to do something. But Darnold's way more money, and he is a product of great freaking coaching. I say the same about Jordan Love. I'm like, dude, that dude, if he was on the Bears, he'd look even more lost than Caleb, maybe. I think that Jordan Love is a product of just fantastic situational and play calling coaching to get the guy going, not sacked, get his confidence going. And I believe that O'Connell did that job.
Yeah, I just pulled it up too. The quarterbacks that are free agents, like, you go get one of these guys that's not really a threat to take a job because they're our age. You go get Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's 37. You go get Case Keenum. He's going to be 37. Like, somebody like that who's been around, can, teach the kid a thing or two about how to be in the league, and, say JJ's our guy. We've got a veteran backup here. I like either of those guys on the Vikes, because those guys are cheap. Those guys are like $4 million, $5 million a year backups.
And absolutely. And O'Connell, there's no reason that he can't make them look just as good as Darnold did this year. So I think that's the smartest idea. I totally agree with that. Well, let's get into the Super Bowl a little bit, man. Do you like a side or total in this game? I mean, it's like hovering around a point. I've heard from some books that they think the Eagles might become favored. I kind of doubt that, but they are down to plus 100 on DraftKings. Total 48.5 kind of holding steady, Andy.
Yeah, I like the Eagles. I've liked them kind of from the jump. It is hard to bet against Mahomes, against Reed, against a team that just has all this experience, winning big games, winning close games, winning like 15 close games this year. And it's projected to be a close game. So it's hard to bet against them, but just up and down the roster, I think it's a better team. It's not that the Chiefs aren't good. The Chiefs are very good, but I mean, they played 2 playoff games that they absolutely could have lost. Whereas, the Eagles kind of got their stinker out of the way against the Rams. I don't know that that one was super in doubt at the end, but I mean, the Eagles probably should have won that game by a lot more. And in the other sense, honestly, Kansas City didn't look very good at all against Houston. They put up a good game against Buffalo, but Buffalo had a chance to win the game at the end. And just looking at the defensive line, the young corners, the running game, the offensive line, despite some injuries in the middle, I'm leaning on Philly here. It's not one of those. It's funny too. We talk about this where let's say it's week 16. There's 16 games. This isn't like one of my favorite bets. If I'm looking at what sort of edge I have on this, there's probably 3 or 4 other games that I'm way more excited to bet than this. And I'd say, I lean Philly. If you made me bet this, I'd bet Philly. But since it's the Super Bowl and you only have one thing to look at all week, my numbers say Philly. My matchup analysis says Philly. And I do lean the under a little, but boy, that makes me nervous after last, 2 weeks ago when both teams, were in some pretty high scoring games. Yeah, that said, obviously, like Washington's defense, way, way, way worse than what Kansas City's going to put out there. And, it might come down to what sort of turnovers we have. Are they meaningful turnovers that put a team in really good scoring position, or are they arm punts and they keep, another long drive, another long field goal drive, another long, I think some of the fourth downs are going to play into that. If you, try and fail on 3 or 4 fourth downs inside the 30, obviously you're probably going to lose the game, but you're also the over is not going to get there if the Eagles are aggressive, and the Chiefs have been aggressive as well on fourth down. If some of those fourth downs go the wrong way and they're in plus territory, it's going to be hard to get to 49.
Yeah. My numbers, combined numbers with my power ratings algorithm. My algorithm has the Eagles winning by a lot more than my power ratings are. But I make it. If there was if I have to worry about the public betting one side, and I'm not the bookmaker. If I'm just making it based upon my numbers, I have Eagles 25, Chiefs 22, with a number of 47. But I'm still not looking at the under. I think 2 very efficient teams. I kind of used the example on another show yesterday that they're kind of like UConn, last year's, they played super slow, ranked at 320th in pace, but they go over because they're so efficient.
They just score every time.
Yeah. It's like that situation. They're also on a better track. I do like the first half under because I think that the Chiefs, if they're going to, what the Chiefs want to do is they want the game to end right when it starts. They want that one score game at the end. They want to shoot out. They're going to drain the clock. I think there's going to be some nerves on both sides too. And I don't think you're going to see any immediate touchdowns necessarily. I think you're going to get a first score field goal, which is in the props of mine. But I like the first half under 24.5. But the reason I'm not betting the Eagles and I'm still 50-50 on the side is because, I feel it's like insanity to keep betting against an anomaly like the Chiefs that just keep freaking winning while the metrics say no. They're negative 0.3 yards per play. How often do you see these Super Bowl champions that are negative net in yards per play? It's like, come on, dude. They're just getting it done through pure coaching, efficiency. Yeah, they get some flags. You'd be a liar to not say that. And they just have clutch performers, like Mahomes and Kelsey. Mahomes is the most clutch guy around. Gun to the head. Would you really bet the Eagles? You'd be like, oh, Chiefs. It's just like one of those. Like, forget everything I know. But my numbers say the Eagles, and I think that I'm betting an alt line on the Eagles. I took a -6.5 at plus 261 because I think if the Eagles are really going to win this game, they have to put their stamp on it early, and they have to be up by a couple scores. You don't want Mahomes with the ball down 4 points, down 3 points, down 6 points, down 7 points. You don't want him to have that ball then because that's when it's over. They're going to make their fourth downs. They're going to get this is Mahomes, But so that's why I'm like, if I like the Eagles a little bit because my metrics say, I'm just going to take the outline -6.5 at plus 261. So I put a small play on that.
Yeah, that will be a helpless feeling if you have the Eagles and they're up by, less than a touchdown. And you look at the time and you realize, like, there's a good chance that Jalen Hurts doesn't get the ball back with any meaningful time left. And he might be, at that point, he's trailing. That, I think I'm hoping it'll be good. I feel like it will be a close game. I think there will be, a meaningful final drive. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if it was just, 24-0 Eagles. That would be fine with me too.
Sure.
I mean, I have some pro Chiefs props. I try to separate that. Although we did kind of explore how the props tie in with how you feel about the game last night on the podcast, which was fun trying to think about it from other ways. But yeah, I haven't changed my mind much. And you mentioned the market. Obviously, with the amount of legal betting now, it's become more and more feasible for the public money to actually have a say in where this market moves. And I feel like public money over the weekend is going to be pro Chiefs because it is the Chiefs. So it just feels like there have been some sharp big bets on the Eagles. We've seen the move. And the first book to really teeter was Circa there in Vegas, where they went to the one before I think a lot of other places did. So, they took some sharp action on the Eagles. And the fact that we haven't got to a pick 'em yet and we're almost to the weekend makes me think it is probably going to end up being 1.5 for the Chiefs when we close here, because you're going to get an avalanche of Chiefs money, even if it's, Chiefs money line and a bunch of parlays and whatnot.
Yeah. It's a good call. I think the fact that it didn't get there yet is a tell that the Chiefs would end up being favored at, come kickoff. I think you're right on that. Some of the, I think it was a Westgate guy, and I can't remember what show it was on that I was listening to, thinks that it would switch the Eagles. I don't think so. You're right about the Circa. It was them to get to the one first of any of the major players out there. So, but yeah, I have my portfolio of plays the same. I have it in case the Chiefs win, I can still win, and I have it in case the Eagles win, I can still win. If in case it's a low-scoring game, I can still win. And in case it's a high-scoring game, I can still win. Now, I can still get my ass kicked. Don't get me wrong, Andy.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
That can always happen, but I've been pretty fortunate on these Super Bowls. But let's talk about props, because that's what the premise of this is about, man. Anything you're noticing this year that's a little bit different? I think props are a little sharper in general, but there's still all that garbage out there, the 90% of them that are just trash that they put together to try to get people to bet. I do think in general it's a little sharper. As a matter of fact, the defensive ones, and yeah, I think the defensive props this year, I haven't touched one yet, really.
Yeah, a guy I work with, Ryan Noonan, he does some defensive props. He found a few. I like to give him some shine because of how his process has worked over the years. I mean, this guy is betting into these tackle and assist week in and week out. And he's gone as far as like tracking which official scorekeepers at which stadiums are more likely to give assists, because some guys just say, that's a solo tackle. The other guy came in late. He doesn't get a part of it. Whereas some of these scorekeepers are like, well, 3 people, they're all getting an assist. Like everyone gets an assist on that tackle. And, some scorekeepers are more likely to do that than others. And every home stadium has their guy that takes care of that. And it's crazy that it's like one guy who's, making a little bit of a subjective decision that's probably affecting how some of these props cash at the end. So I like to read his stuff and usually tail him on a few. So I did that with those, but it's usually just tackle and assist, over and unders. The sack stuff is so tough because we talked about that yesterday. You can have and this kind of was a spinoff of a conversation we were having about how to play long shots on MVP. And it says, I'd love to play Chris Jones, and Chris Jones can have a huge impactful game where he is wrecking people and he is constantly in the face of the quarterback and he gets 0 sacks. And anybody who watches film can say, like, this guy was a massive part of this win. He destroyed this offensive line. He was huge, but on the stat sheet, it doesn't look like anything.
I agree.
And because he just drives him into Karlaftis's arms 3 times. And sometimes that's how it goes with defense. So it's tough to get too crazy on MVP, I think. It really probably does come down to 3 guys. the two quarterbacks and Saquon at this point. So I didn't want to get too weird on that. I did like a few prices early in the process. I played some Mahomes to score. There was places that had 5-1 or better. Two really, really good red zone teams. I've seen it against the Commanders as well. Sometimes it does take a broken play or a scramble to get into the end zone against the Eagles. They're very tough in the red zone. The coverage down there has been really, really good. So I like Mahomes to, break, contain, and scramble one in.
Yeah,
That number, even with the under, and I think it was like 5 plus 550 is what I found.
Yeah.
Just a couple like that. But the general props, like you said, they're pretty sharp. And you hear a lot of people saying, "Well, this is a tendency of Fangio, and this is a tendency of Nagy, excuse me, of Spagnuolo." Yeah, totally. Make the wrong coordinator, Spagnuolo.
That hurt.
Yeah, those guys can break tendency, and they've had 2 weeks to do it. I don't love a lot of this, like, well, they're just so bad against the tight end, so I'm just gonna bet all the tight end overs. It's like those numbers are probably pretty good. It's tough to play these props that have had 20 weeks to sharpen themselves up, and generally what kind of target share these guys are going to get. They're just so hard to play, and that's what we talked about yesterday, was like playing into a game state. Like you said, there's all these different scenarios where you can still make some money on your props. And I did like the idea of putting some SGPs together that are like, that if you like the Eagles and you think the Eagles win, why do you think the Eagles win? Well, Saquon has a good day. Well, then let's make an SGP around it where Saquon goes over his longest rush and he has 2 touchdowns and the Eagles money line. And then at that point, the Eagles are probably leading. Then you play Mahomes passing attempts over, and you probably play both running backs under their yards for Hunt and Pacheco. Just get wild with it. Throw together some fun combos of that. If that's how you see the game going, like, even if those are semi-live in the second half, that's a lot more fun than just like, well, I have Eagles money line plus 105.
It is more fun.
So I think that's a fun way to go with it. It's like, trust what you think's going to happen in the game and put together a couple. Say you're going to put $100 in the Eagles, put $50 in the Eagles, take the rest and make 5 long shots for $10 at, all like 100-1 or something like that. You get one of those that's even semi-live in the second half. I think you're going to have a lot more fun at your Super Bowl party.
100%.
Just there's so many things you can. Obviously, the prop offerings every week are good nowadays compared to where we were 5-10 years ago. But I mean, this week you can bet anything. Just
Yeah, I mean, I did some personal degenerate stuff that I don't, send out as an actual play. There's a couple same game parlays like you did that I did. I think I'm doing one on. I think I have the Eagles. I have the Celtics to make to win the East, and I have them with the Dodgers to win it. And I can't remember. Oh, I think I got real greedy and put Alabama to win the NCAA tournament. But I actually do like Alabama a lot. But that would be a massive payday. I think like a $20 investment that gets you $10,000 in that or something stupid. So, and I think I did a smaller one too. I have some fun with it, and I think that's part of betting. It's if you think that's bad, you probably never bought a Powerball ticket, and if you did, then you're a hypocrite, because that's exactly the same thought. It's like people are like, oh, you shouldn't do these parlays. Like, dude, I do this for recreation as well as being something that I can build small amounts of money on.
No. Well, and I don't think it's just. If you're actually putting some thought into it and you're playing into like, this is how a game state would go, this is how I believe it's going to go. And the pricing might not be 100% what it should be. And so maybe it's not the sharpest thing in the world, but it is the Super Bowl. You're allowed to have a little fun.
Yes, absolutely. You're definitely allowed to have a little fun, and that's what we're all about. Let's talk some early props here. Anything you like for the national anthem, coin toss, or first score in the fourth quarter, anything early in the game?
The anthem one is really weird this year, isn't it? Heavy steam to the under. We got this piano player. Now I've seen places that are saying that the anthem time starts when the piano starts compared to when his voice starts, because those are two very different things. I was talking to my guy Sammy, and he was saying, that there's clips of this guy with a long piano flourish before he even starts singing, and then he rips through the anthem real quick.
Well, it should go longer than if it starts with the piano.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the biggest thing of the anthem is, please read your rules. And if you're betting someplace and it doesn't have one of those little eye with the circle around it that you can hover over and it tells you exactly what they're going to grade it as, maybe send an email before you start, because even if it's not much money, you're going to be mad one way or the other if they grade it stupid, not how you think. So, obviously have a lot of outs. That's always a thing. Make sure you have plenty of places to bet, but double check what their grading is going to be. We had the Reba thing. Remember, she said Brave twice, and some places are like, well, we go off the first Brave, and other places are like, well, Christ, like, what are we gonna do here? We're just gonna pay,
You have to go off the second Brave because she's still singing.
She's still singing. So he had people going both ways. Hopefully books remember that and are less ambiguous. Double check, but I still kind of lean. I still lean under if you can find a place that has the old school. If it's the old school grading of, we start when they say the word "oh," they stop when they're done singing "Brave." That's how it used to go.
Yeah,
with an accompaniment like this, I don't know. Double check your rules.
Yeah, John Batiste. So Rafael Sparza was on last week, and he says that his wife's a big fan of him, and he actually made this prop, which is funny, and he likes it. So like, I probably should bet it if you made it and you like the plus money side. It's will John Batiste play a harmonica board on stage? And I'm like, well, it's yes plus 175. I mean, there's only going to be a $25 limit on these things, but I'll put that. I mean, I'll throw that down if I can, and I probably will. I'm not going to say that's a big play or nothing, but I'll just play it because I think, why would you not want to flex with a harmonica board? It's one of those flute things with a keyboard. That's a hell of a flex, man, to do something like that. Why would you not?
Yeah, I'm like Googling it right now to figure out what a harmonica board is.
Yeah, I Googled it too, and that's how I found out. It's a dude blowing like a accordion type thing with a piano keys on it, and I think it's a pretty cool. I've never heard of the instrument before. Not that I'm no musical genius or anything, but if he plays it, I think he should bust it out because that's what he's going to be remembered for. More than just the singing itself. So I'll bet that. I like Marquise Brown over 4.5 yards in the first quarter. And if you saw him play last, they had some great quick slants to him. That was just like boom, boom, boom against Buffalo. They drove all the way down and scored a touchdown, right? I mean, he was a big part of that drive. Why would they not incorporate that Marquise Brown again? Now, he's going to be lined up probably in the slot for that. And I think that, the over 4.5 is just really, that should be one catch. With a receiver like him, that's one catch on a quick slant. Quick slant, 6-7 yards, Andy. I like that one. And first score field goal plus 150. I got it offshore at plus 175 blended odds, plus 350 on each side. But I like the first score field goal because I believe all Super Bowls play out like this. Actually, like out of the 8 Super Bowls, the last 8 I can remember since we've been doing this show. I remember this hitting a ton of times. I don't remember it not hitting. So the teams, tend to tense up a little bit, not want to throw the big pick in the end zone or anything. First score field goal with these good red zone defenses, Andy.
I like that. I seen somebody else play that on like Worthy. It's fun, these first quarter ones, because a lot of them are just like, man, just kind of needs one catch. If we can get 2 drives, it's fun. This could literally cash on the first play of the game. I like that. Hollywood Brown is another one too that I looked at for.
I said Hollywood Brown, yeah, Marquise.
Yeah. But yeah. I looked at him when I was looking at long shots. I was just trying to figure out ways. I'm like, how is there a spot where the Chiefs win and it's not Patrick Mahomes? And I think it has to be like some bombs. It has to be like Randy Moss Thanksgiving game. It has to be, someone who is a deep threat on the outside that ends up with 2 or 3 touchdowns. And maybe one of them is a game-winning touchdown. And it's like, man, and he was like 130 at one book. I'm like, this is probably worth a tickle, but I mean, it's very, very hard for uh, basically
MVP.
any Chief. Yeah, it was a big number, and all the Chiefs were, because it's so hard to imagine a game where Patrick Mahomes has a bad game and they win. There's not really a path for either of the running backs to be good because they're just not good. Like Pacheco's still working back from that injury, and Hunt just doesn't have the burst anymore. So, I was trying to find ways to trick myself into thinking, like, how can someone win MVP on the Chiefs and it's not Pat? And I think it has to be like a deep threat receiver like that. So I did look at that, but I don't have any first quarter bets. I don't have anything like that early on, but I did look at the other song too. You have the America the Beautiful as well. So I got to go figure out like how long they're going to sing.
Yeah.
T Shorty and Lauren D.
Well, that's true too. I forgot about that one. I'll look at that one as well. With the national anthem, if I decide to do anything. So that's a good call. A lot of these books still can't offer it either. You got to be a little creative to find some of these things. But yeah, you talk MVP, man. I think I got a long shot in the MVP too. And I mean, we can jump to MVP. Why not? Since
I'm interested to hear what you have.
Yeah, I like Butker. I think the Steelers beat the Ravens all field goals. How if there's all field goals in a game and it's like 18-14 or 21-14 or something, and it was all field goals, how do you not give it to a guy like that? Sure, the defense did step up, but dude, if like one of them's like a 58-yard field goal, God forbid a 60-yard field goal, which is a massive price right now, like 12-1 for a 60-yard field goal. You'd get 250-1, So I'm like, I think there's more than like a 1% chance that a guy like Butker could do it, because you got to face it. Both of these defenses are great in the red zone, and all the scoring could technically come from a kicker. And I'm a guy that has thoughts that the Chiefs are going to slow this game down to a crawl. And a guy that has numbers that show the under a little bit more than the over. I might take a second half over, but I think the first half under is going to hit, and that's my big one, Andy. I don't see I don't see it impossible that happening, especially with Butker's storyline and kind of the media stuff he took last year.
I do like the kicker overs. Obviously, Elliott scares me, but the Butker over makes was something I liked. Like I said, I like the under. I like these defenses. I like the red zone defenses. The fly in the ointment is, like I said earlier, they like to go for it on fourth. So there could be some fourth and shorts that obviously would be field goals for about 20 other teams that don't turn out to be field goals. But something I looked at was over 119 total yards of made field goals. That was it was even money earlier this week when we did some prop stuff. I did a prop palooza in one of the Discords where we all got together and just kind of let everyone know kind of one we like. So I try to go off the beaten path for those, so I don't double up with anybody. But that was a look I liked. Even if they're not kicking 50-yarders, I do have this, looking like we're going to get 4 to 5 field goals in this one. And, at that point, you only need them to be 30-yarders. Hell, they can be shorter than that and get you to 119. So I like Butker's overs. What price did you get on MVP? It's got to be triple digits, right?
250-1, 250-1.
I mean, it's a huge number on a flyer, and if you do get the world's ugliest game again, like Patriots Rams from a few years ago, and a kicker can win.
Yeah, I mean, 250-1 is a lot of value there for, it's saying that there's a very small chance of it happening. But you saw this year, his field goal kickers literally won a game for the Steelers against the Ravens, and I would have, given the MVP to him. It was a great fantasy day for my field goal kicker then, because I had him on my team. But that's a very possible thing. Let's move to team props. Any team props that you like? A team prop I like is Eagles over 5.5 players to record a reception, Andy. And the reason I like that is because there's 5 for sure. Gainwell always gets a catch, and he's playing. He's concussed, but he's playing. It's been 2 weeks. Saquon Barkley, and I can't be sure for sure he's playing, but just hear me out. Saquon Barkley's 2. The 3, Golders, AJ Brown, and Smith. That's 5. So you got 5 right there. I mean, a Philly special can get this home. You got
They
Dotson,
like Calcaterra quite a bit lately too.
and if the Eagle and I'll get to this in player props, but the Chiefs are the worst team against tight ends and they're bad against crossing routes. I think that they're going to definitely throw to Calcaterra, and then you got Dotson's caught 30 balls this year or something. Him over 0.5 catches juiced. So I don't see how it'd be really hard for this to not hit in a game where I think the Eagles do have to put up some points if they feel like beating the Chiefs, especially in a one score. They don't want to be in a one score game. So I really like that over 5.5 for a team prop. Is there any other team props that you like or thoughts on that?
The Eagles' gross punt yardage under 165.5. It's 115 either way.
I like it.
Kind of based off again how they run the ball, how good they get. They get ahead of the chains. They get very aggressive when they get down near the goal line, especially. Obviously, that doesn't matter as much for the punter, but I mean, as soon as they hit like their 40, they're perfectly willing to go on like fourth and under, 3 or 4 yards at that point. So, it is indoors, obviously, so the wind's not going to affect the punting at all. But I have them down for about 3.5 punts, and it just kind of takes one subpar punt, or this is this is it's gonna be graded gross punt yardage, which does mean the total yardage so under 165.5.
Oh, 165. Geez, I thought you said
no, it's one minus 115 on both sides, but under 165 yards of total punting.
Okay,
I dug into. I mean, it's not a terrible number. I dug into some of their previous ones, but I would think they're going to be plenty aggressive here.
Well, that correlates right into one of my game props, which is total punts under 6.5 for minus 110. And so that's a perfect correlation with mine. I agree with that, and I got that on DraftKings. I thought that there's not going to be a punt by Sirianni unless they're really fourth and behind. It's not going to be too many of them. You might see a few more from the Chiefs, but I expect maybe 5 punts this game. I really think that you can get to a point where these teams are just running slowing the clock, yet always getting first downs, always ending on those field goals, what's another correlation with your field goal numbers that you like over as well. So I think that's a good way to approach it as well. Yeah. So there's a
chance. There's a chance the Eagles only have like 7 or 8 drives. Mm-hmm. Basically, just they could punt 3 times, and as long as they're turnover on downs, turnover or score on the other 4 or 5. That's I think it's pretty good. Pretty good look.
Muff punts too. And there's another prop that ties into this that I'll get to later. How about halftime props? I don't know a lot about Kendrick Lamar, which really is aging me, I feel. Yeah. I do think Lil Wayne should have gotten it though, man. I do he's from New Orleans. Come on. The dude was big enough to be that. And he's saying he's boycotting it or something, or threw something out there. I think he could still surprise us with a halftime appearance. I don't know if that prop's out there. I have to look for that. But I don't know anything about Kendrick Lamar, so unless I get the set list from a buddy of mine, I happen to be down there like I did one year, mutual friend of ours. We will. I'm not going to make a play.
Yeah, we're waiting for information on that. Waiting for info on the on the rehearsals. You go over to like Poly Market. There's some big money moving around on first song. There's been a couple songs that have been steamed up. Humble's your favorite right now. Not Like Us is taking money. DNA is taking money from people.
And Not Like Us is the one I know.
Squabble Up. I listened to the new album once. I don't know, it was fine. But some of the new stuff, I don't know, man. He's got a lot of songs. And this is one where I don't think it's worth guessing. Like, this is, if you're guessing, it better be at a long shot. Like, find a big number. Don't be like, I think it's this one. It's 2-1 or one of these favorites. So unless you have the info, kind of steer clear of that stuff. Unless you're playing some of the long shots and you really think you can get inside the head of, Kendrick Lamar at this point.
Yeah, that's easier said than done. I guess he's the personality that tries to trick people, and there's probably songs that I might recognize too. I just know the Not Like Us one because it's hot right now, that's I listen to I don't listen to a lot of radio anymore, but maybe that's what it is. And maybe somebody out there can shoot us a tweet or something, and they got a good idea and something for our halftime show. Let's move on to game props then. What do you have for game props? I already mentioned total punts under 6.5. I said, will there be a 2-point conversion? Yes, attempt, not conversion itself. The attempt's at 115 at 0.5 stars. And yeah, if the tush push happens to be a penalty on an extra point, sure, he'll probably convert it. But I don't like him tush pushing 2.5 yards out. But I think just the attempt at plus money is good for a Super Bowl bet. So what about you?
Yeah, not a ton on these, but I did like. I'm still on the field goal thing. You can take some alt lines on made field goals. Over 4.5 pays 3-1. If we do, yeah, I think that number's just depressed because of the aggressiveness of these teams and how good they are. But man, I really like these defenses. I really like these red zone defenses. If the Chiefs can get a sack on 1st and 10 from the 15, suddenly it's we like going for it on 4th down, but maybe not 4th and 8 from the 18. Maybe we just, and we're in a spot where we can trust Jake at this point. He's not going to screw it up. Obviously, but Butker's a very good kicker, so getting 3-1 on that, implying a quarter of the time we get that. I think it's more like half the time we have a game with a bunch of field goals. The tush push stuff, I think that's kind of priced where it should be. You can bet over 4th downs made for the Eagles, but it's like over 1.5 is the line, even juice roughly. So, I mean, you don't even get home on the first one. You got to have them make a convert.
They might not get to 4th down.
Well, what if they're efficient and they don't end up with 4th downs in some spots? So that's I do think that's not have to have a 4th down attempt to grade. I think if there's no 4th down at all, that they don't, that they go for it, it could be just like, well, you lose anyway.
Yeah, I mean, here's another one that I like. Actually, because Mike Palm was on, and he actually gave this to me too on the show on Monday. Will either team convert a 4th down in their own territory? I bet yes, minus 114, because desperation time. You can have this not even happening at the end, and the team has to be desperate, and they're going to get it. Or just the tush push itself. You're on your own 40. You're going to go for it when there's a yard or less. That's for sure. Maybe even 1.5 yards. Knowing Sirianni, the dude is not quite Dan Campbell, but he's up there. And I think the Chiefs would do the same thing when it's short. They're not stupid. They know the numbers. They know the chances of making it, especially with such a great team. So I expect a conversion in their own territory. So that's my other one. That moves us to player props, I believe. And I like player props, and I didn't make all of them yet because I'm going to take some unders, Andy. I'm probably waiting a Saturday. I've been burned on this before, and I can't remember exactly what Super Bowls, but the narrative has always been right before the Super Bowl, you take the unders. Well, actually, I've watched this before, and right before the Super Bowls, they were gone. They already went, the number moved under, and I was like, come on. So you got to be a little careful, I think some of the bigger ones like the Kelsey and the Barkley and the A.J. Browns, I can probably still wait on until Sunday. But one for Barkley I didn't wait on, and I'm glad I took it because it moved. I took Saquon Barkley under 133.3 or 0.5 rushing and receiving yards. Rushing, receiving. I think 133.5 is too much. Now that's moved down to 129.5. I still like it on DraftKings at that number. Getting down to 126, I'm not going to like it as much, though. I still think Gainwell's going to play, and he's going to make a little bit more of a mark. You have to understand that Kansas City's going to key on Barkley, and they kind of last game, they stopped, I think it was Sanders, who was their last player in the Super Bowl. And they keyed on him. They're going to key on the guy. They're going to make Jalen Hurts try to throw the ball to beat him. They're stupid if they don't, because if you're going to let them open up Barkley, they're going to open up ther whole offense. You got to at least stop something. So I kind of, and don't get me wrong, I could be wrong on this. Barkley's fantastic, but 133.5 just seemed a little high for me. So I like that one. Devontae Smith over 49.5 receiving yards. Everyone looks at the last Super Bowl But you also have to look at their last game that they played in 2023. Remember the rematch where the Eagles beat the Chiefs 21-17 in there? Well, not only was Smith great in the Super Bowl getting 100 yards, he had 6 catches for 99 yards. So the slot receivers, Devontae Smith is really good with the 2 high. He's really good with the 2 high. A.J. Brown's good with the 1 high safety. But I think Kansas City is going to be stubborn and run a lot of their 2 high safety. So I expect, once again, Devontae Smith to get a lot of catches. And those are 2 that I really like. Why don't you say any player props that you like?
Yeah, I like to look at, some of these places will have targets now. Looking at just kind of the game state stuff, and a lot of this goes against how I think it's going to go. I do believe it is. It's going to be Eagles. Maybe not getting the explosive runs from Saquon, but getting efficient runs from him. Having Jalen scrambling for a couple first downs, hitting the short stuff over the middle, but AJ Brown can be a deep threat as well. But over 7.5 targets. Because I think even if it is, an Eagles lead or a close game, he's going to be a big part of the offense. If you're going to key in on Saquon, we're going to kill you with, basically our 3 receivers. And,
that's possible.
And if we're behind, we're definitely going to have to start, tossing it down to AJ, taking a few shots, and targets. I just get burnt so many times. It's like probably bad process, but you get burnt so many times when a guy has like 9 targets, 2 catches. You bet him like over 3.5 catches or something. Drives you up the wall. So I do like these target bets sometimes when it's just like, man, there's so many game states for AJ Brown to get that, and that's another one that's just it's not super juicy either side. It's -115. So over 7.5 AJ Brown targets.
Oh, I like it, man. I think they're going to try to get the AJ Brown the ball for sure. And, it could be a lot of different situations where they give it to him like some sort of a wide receiver, throws the ball to him type thing. Maybe Saquon throws a pass. There's all kinds of ways that AJ Brown
even just screens. As long as he's standing further forward than the quarterback, I'll take it.
Absolutely. Screens are great. And I like screens because of this next one, too. I know Pacheco's been hurt, but he went over on that last play in the first down against the Bills as receiving total. I took him over 3.5 receiving yards. I honestly think that, I don't like the Kansas City receivers so much. I'm a little worried about a few things. I think that Hopkins could get a couple catches because he's been waiting to play in the Super Bowl his whole career. Right now is his chance. I kind of think that Mahomes is going to make sure he gets a couple catches. I'm a little worried about that for Hopkins. His number's super low. I can't guarantee it. I would lean over on him, and I like Noah Gray, but I'm gonna take Kelsey under. I think Kelsey has had some bad games against the Eagles recently, and he's had a down year in general. And I think that Noah Gray's kind of picking up that wide open spot. I don't think the Chiefs are going to let Kelsey beat him. In the last game, he had 7 receptions, but only 44 yards. And that was back in 2023. So, you're a year and a half later here, 1 full season and a little bit more later. So I'm going to take Kelsey under, but I didn't yet because I'm going to wait for better numbers. I might take A.J. Brown's total receiving yards under if I can get up to 74, 75. I'm not going to take it now at 71, and I might not take it at all. So,
Xavier, again, like why I liked his targets over yardage. It's a lot of yardage if it's going to be a lot of crossers and stuff.
I think the Smith-Schuster only went up because of the last game. Yeah, it is a lot of – you're right. Smith-Schuster, only because the last game, got a couple catches. I don't think he's going to be a big part of the game plan. I'll eventually take his under too. But what I do like is Xavier Worthy's longest reception under 21.5. I did get burned on that last week because I took it then. It was like 19.5. And that dang ball that they were both holding on to that hit the ground and came back up. I mean, if I think that's supposed to be incomplete. I know that when there's no possession and it hits the ground, there's no incomplete. But the fact they're both holding it, it's not the process of the catch. That's what I think. But
I was confused. I'm just like, whatever. I don't know what we're gonna do here. There's so many spots like that. We've had so many weird reffing moments this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, hey, if you keep doing that, we're just going to award you a touchdown. Like, what?
That's a prop.
That out loud.
That's a prop.
Oh yeah, that made me laugh. Yeah, there is a funny team one I had. If you want to, if you want to have a fun one for the party, is the Chiefs are underdogs to be the first penalized team, accepted penalty. So it's the odds I've seen, and shop around, maybe find an even better price. But the odds I saw were Eagles -125, Chiefs -105, and just like if you are a conspiracy guy, the refs come in, set the tone.
Yeah.
Said, "Oh no, we absolutely call penalties against the Chiefs right away. Give them one." Oh, I mean, how many times have they had a tackle line up, halfway back into the backfield? Just guess what? Illegal procedure. Give them one. See, we're fair.
Okay, I'll bet the last penalty. I'll bet the last penalty on the Eagles then. All right.
Yeah, it's the other way. I know.
That's when they count. That's when they count. The first quarter penalties don't do nothing.
Yeah. Give them a 5-yard penalty in the first quarter. That ain't gonna change things.
I know.
I saw a tweet like that. He said, "I want Eagles money line, but I want it for the first 58 minutes."
Yeah.
And then I think one of the exchanges put it up for him. I think it was Stuckey.
Yeah, it was Stuckey. You're right.
He tweeted that out, and then I think somebody put it up for him, like on an exchange. Made me laugh.
Yeah, well, that's funny. I mean, that's hilarious. Why not? That's a hilarious one. I like to look at that one just out of fun. But I think that has a lot to it, even if you think the refs are not into it, and it's just the Chiefs are that clutch. I think that's a good prop, to have. So I like that one a lot. Well, how about TD props? I like these. These are fun. I don't know how sharp they are, but our friend Noops loves these first TD props, and I'm doing this. I'm just going to blanket like 1 unit's worth, all 0.2 units. Devontae Smith plus 1,800, Dallas Goedert plus 1,800, Jalen Hurts plus 650, and Patrick Mahomes plus 2,100 on the first TD, and Noah Gray plus 3,100 for first TD. I think that, now obviously Barkley's probably going to kill me, or Kareem Hunt, but I think that Hurts or Mahomes can certainly do this. And I think a tight end, like I mentioned, the Chiefs are the worst against tight ends. I do like Dallas Goedert over 4.5 catches as well, but I took that before the juice got crazy on it. Now I think I laid -120, now it's like -144. So I think Dallas Goedert has a shot at this too. But why not Hurts or Mahomes tush push for a first TD all day? And to be honest with you, I took some anytime touchdowns, all for a quarter unit apiece, 4 for Devontae Smith plus 250, Noah Gray plus 600. And I like Noah Gray, and I've said this many times. He's had 5 touchdowns this year out of 20 games. Well, what does that mean? That means it should be plus 300, not plus 600. So I took plus 600 on Noah Gray, anytime touchdown. Patrick Mahomes plus 440. So I'm with you on this one. But I only got plus 440 anytime touchdown with Pat Mahomes, and Dallas Goedert plus 330 for anytime touchdown. It'd be cool to nail 2 of these, because you nail one of them, you're in pretty good shape. Devontae Smith, I guess not. You're probably still losing if you just hit him. But anytime TDs are pretty fun right now.
Yeah, I'm probably going to add some, a few guys that might get involved. I gotta find a better Carson Steele number, but we'll see how effective Kareem Hunt is, because I can't bet Kareem Hunt at plus 110, plus 120 to score a touchdown. But I do, like I said, I like the Mahomes number. I'll probably join. I haven't placed any first touchdowns yet, so I don't mind adding some Mahomes, first touchdown as well. The Noah Gray one I like quite a bit that you mentioned too. That's a pretty good number on a guy that, I don't know, he's gotten a lot more attention from the offense. He's gotten a lot more attention from how the play calling is gone and how Mahomes has been going through his reads. So yeah, I don't hate him at all, especially in just an anytime touchdown as well at a big price like that. Would you say 6-1? I think that's a hell of a price.
What's funny is I had Patrick Mahomes 6-7 years ago against the Niners when they won their first Super Bowl at like plus 3,000. So 30-1 to score. I think it might have been anytime or first, but I hit it. And I was so freaking happy because it made my whole prop day from doing that. And I was probably at 5 glasses of bourbon in by then. I think I kept pouring them, and I don't remember a whole hell of a lot of the rest of the Super Bowl. It was a good time, and I had a great prop betting day just because of that. And guess what? If I don't get the first TD, I down a unit. I can make it back on all these other props that I'm in. So I do take a couple shots to try to make it a more profitable day, and that's always fun. So yeah, try to find a good number and join me on Mahomes if you can. Any cross sport head-to-head props or parlays. There's a few out there. I haven't taken any because I don't know jack about the NBA. I do like college basketball. I haven't seen any yet, but I might join a UFC one because I'll be capping the UFC as soon as we're done here. I might join a UFC one, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I wish there were more golf ones. I think there might have been before the tournament actually started. I'm gonna look and see if there's any. Sometimes they'll have, ones that they'll add later in the weekend where it's, AJ Brown yardage versus Sepp Straka score, his total score for Sunday, something like that. So I'm gonna look if I can find some golf ones, but I mean a ton of them are like basketball, and I don't bet any NBA. So I don't know. Like, what am I gonna do? Try to break down the Jason Tatum tape without really watching any NBA yet this year. So I've steered clear of some of that. There's a lot of soccer stuff too that, I like soccer. I'll bet some for fun, but I haven't found anything I love yet.
All right.
There is one. There is
Phoenix Open too,
Yeah, there is the score to make the cut. So basically, you're the first two rounds scoring and down there in TPC Scottsdale versus Saquon Barkley's total yards, which is higher.
Oh, I would take the score to make the cut by all day.
The cut is favored -130 to -110, where I just looked, and it makes sense. And it's basically like you're betting against Mahomes to break a long one. Hey, he can have a pretty good day. He's still not getting to, if he doesn't break a long one, he's not getting to like 140.
That's why Barkley's longest rush is like 24 and a half. And I'm like, well, if I'm already going under his rushing and receiving yards, I'm not going to do two things and double expose myself, So I was going to go under, his longest run's 26 and a half. He goes over that, and I'm kind of in trouble anyway, right? So I don't want to lose two bets of that. What about the Gatorade color? That's less popular this year because of, I think, the two Super Bowls in a row, both were purple, right? For the Chiefs.
Yeah, we know that like the Eagles are green and yellow, whatever, but they also have water on their sideline too. You can take a flyer on clear. Maybe they grabbed the wrong one, but yeah, I think the favorites are the favorite for a reason in this one. And unless you want to make a fun parlay, I'm probably not putting too much money into the Gatorade.
I'm like John Daly. I'm like, why the hell do you have water out there, man? I don't drink water. Put some Diet Coke out there or some I think maybe for diabetics, is there someone with diabetes drinking water? That could be possible. I don't know.
I don't know if some guys just don't like the Gatorade with the sweetness. Obviously it's not like soda sweet, but it still has some sugar. So I don't know. Maybe it's a preference thing. I haven't bet the Puppy Bowl yet. No info on the Puppy Bowl. There is you can bet which dog will score the winning touchdown. There's a dog called D-Bone Samuel. I'm thinking about. I'm looking at him, but there's like 30 dogs listed. I didn't know that there's that many dogs. My kids usually watch the Puppy Bowl. Maybe I'll find. There was a year where that info got leaked, and I was able to bet on the Puppy Bowl. It felt good because everyone's like, "I love you win the anthem bet. I'm up money before the game even started." It's even better if you win the Puppy Bowl 3 hours earlier.
Yeah, it's way better. The Puppy Bowl is fun. I didn't see anything either. What about? I think. Do you think the Chiefs would have purple? Because if you're a small time bettor and you don't have a lot of money to put on the game anyway, instead of betting the Chiefs, you bet purple Gatorade plus. Because why would they jinx themselves and change it?
Yeah, I don't know if they would change it. It's what they like. Why wouldn't you stick with what you've been using? Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as like I've seen some cases made where in what world did the Eagles win this game and Saquon has a bad day? If they're leading, they're not going to be throwing as much. If they're leading, it's probably because he's scored at least once. It's like, so, if you like the Eagles, maybe split that stake up, half on the Eagles, half on Saquon MVP.
Yeah, that's true. Not a bad call. Just put on Saquon MVP. And that brings us to beer bet bangers, and I already kind of gave out one at Harrison Bucker, 25,000 to so 250 to 1 for a quarter unit, and I like C.J. Garner-Johnson as well. He led the Eagles in interceptions. I think that Slade's more of a great coverage guy. He doesn't pick it as much, but I could see that maybe. It's just all defense for the Eagles, and it's all Jalen Carter being, like you said, disrupting the hell out of Mahomes. It's tipped at the line, and he just happens to be at the right place at the right time and gets in. I just don't like Elliott as a kicker. I think he's a little inconsistent at his 2,500 number. So I kind of like C.J. Garner-Johnson as my other beer bet banger. So it would be funny if 2 pick sixes could happen by this dude. That would be enough for an MVP too.
Yeah, I don't have anything that long. I think he kind of.
No, you don't have to be that long. Your bet bangers is like you can be 2 to 1, man. You already gave out some of that stuff, but I just went extra long because it's the Super Bowl. But normally I'm giving out I think I just gave out a Texas Tech to win the Big 12 at 4.8 to 1. I mean, whatever you think that's kind of fun. I mean, there's an octopus bet that people talk about all the time.
I know.
And guess what? The last one happened in this Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. He got the octopus, and it's 13 to 1 at FanDuel. I could see my degenerate self throwing something on that.
I know it's fun. There's all these degen bets, but then you look at the prices and be like, it's funny. We joked about this, the award a score thing. There's a prop somewhere that said, will an official issue can award a score to a team? And they priced it at 10 to 1. Something we've literally, there's 300 games almost now per year. There's been 30,000 NFL games and we haven't really had this. And,
you've never heard it.
Yeah, but it's gonna be 10 to 1.
Terrible odds. I mean, it should be 100,000 to 1, dude.
Yeah, there's some pretty bad odds on some of that stuff. I've started to look at some of the entertainment stuff. You have obviously lots of T Swift. You have a lot of there's Tom Brady. There's Donna Kelsey. Kelsey's mom's cleavage prop. It's a one way. I know they won't let you bet the no. I mean, she's gonna wear a jersey like she does. She's not a young woman. She's not gonna do that. So,
the nose like minus 10,000 probably. Right?
Yeah, they didn't even offer it. It was just a
It's just
if you want a really dumb one, there is a Big Dom to have an on-field altercation, 50 to 1.
I know. How stupid is that?
I don't know if we can do that one either.
Big Don is not going to do. I mean, the guy's ballsy, right? He's done some stupid shit. A lot of Eagles fans don't like him, but I think that it was I think he's a guy you either hate or love, right? But he's. I don't think he's even crazy enough.
He's not going to fight somebody. Yeah,
he's not. You might have to tackle a streaker though, so that would be fun if someone streaks and he's.
I wonder if that counts. Yeah,
that should count, but the books will say no, just like the national anthem and said the last word twice. All right, well, you said Mahomes anytime touchdown. That's good enough for a beer bet banger.
I think so. Yeah, we'll go with the Mahomes anytime touchdown, and with you the Mahomes first touchdown score. You should find at least 15 to 1 at that.
21 to 1 at FanDuel for Mahomes. It might have went down. I didn't check, but 21 to 1. Let's do that, my friend. Andy, awesome stuff. Love talking props with you. Love talking football. My man, you guys are great out there in the deep dive and at BetSperts. Where could our listeners get your great information?
Yeah, at Andy MSFW on Twitter, where I live all day long. And obviously, I do a football newsletter, a golf newsletter. We do a podcast, a couple podcasts here and there. It's all. I have a link in my bio that has everything I do. If you want to go find some of that, so especially now, if you're, what are you going to do next week? No football, free golf newsletter. We have previews, weather, betting, TGL. We're 5-1 in the TGL. If it survives, nobody's watching it anymore. But my perfect record was blemished last week. But we got another win with LA.
It's all
It's
right.
we have a TGL strategy. You just bet against the team with the worst player.
Well, that's perfect. I love that
Easy
strategy.
money.
That's hard to do with the Bears because they have a lot of worse players. So I guess you just go against them anyway. Well, Andy, you crack me up every time I check your Twitter timeline. So keep up that. One of the funniest guys we know. And we'll be talking to you. Best of luck this weekend in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, enjoy the Super Bowl. Have fun, and talk when we talk.